So as he alluded to when he introduced me, and I told him that since he's introducing me first, he's going to set the stage for anything I want to say about him. But I've known this next person for 10 years, and it's so much so that I enjoyed working with him so much that partnered up with a conference with his company. So I think that speaks a lot. I just want to speak very highly of him, then I'll start joking about him. So interestingly, and one of the reasons I feel very safe around him is that he can choke you out with his foot. Everyone please welcome Jake.
All right, so today we're going to talk about organizational effects driven by ontologies. It's really a boring title for how to hack your organization with data. Because that's really what we're doing is, this, first off, like, what is this fancy word? Okay, it's inconceivable. I think that was what Inigo Montoya kept complaining about. But everybody keeps hearing this word ontology, and everybody has their own little definition that they're spinning off on it. And really, I'm here to tell you it's actually a very simple thing that you need to focus on. It's just concepts and how they interrelate. Like we have a concept of a D4 conference. We have a concept of these chairs. The chairs are inside of the Embark Collective. That's another concept. So the chairs are inside the Embark Collective, which is associated with this conference. Wow, you just built an ontology. It's that simple. It's dead simple. And it's important because it's this conceptualization of how we view the world. And we can use that to interact with data. But how do you get these concepts? Organizationally, you're going to struggle with people to say this word ontology to them, and they're going to be like, what does this mean, man? Like, I don't understand. They're going to go to Wikipedia, find out it came from Plato and philosophers. But really, you already have all of these concepts already. They're written down. They're the goals of your organization. They're your objectives and key results, your OKRs, they're KPIs. They're the effects, the mission that you're trying to achieve. Those are the concepts. What is it? What are you trying to do? You can derive the concepts from that. And here's a couple examples here. Company X implement new customer communication system. You see the good commercial example where, like Dan, previously was talking about, strategic competition. During the acquisition process, they want to identify if a company has ties to China. That would be, some goals that they have, and then some concepts we can derive from those. And it's not as like pat and simple as that. You have to do a little bit of work and be like, okay, acquisition process. Maybe that's the title of the ontology I'm going to generate. Well, I know it's going to be on companies. I'm going to investigate them. Companies have people associated with them. They have activities that they do, legal activities, financial activities. There's features associated with those people. Those all turn into an ontology, a more conceptual view of the problems that you're trying to solve. So you pull that out, and you describe it, you write it down, but then the data gets a vote, right? Reality gets a vote. You may need to adapt that ontology a little bit to the data you have. Or maybe you go through that exercise, you took your goals, you generated that ontology, and you're like, wait, I don't have the right data to solve my problem. Hey, that's a good thing. You have just identified that you need to go acquire more data, you need to collect more data, you need to get the data that actually solves your problem because you don't have it. Okay, focus on that. And then this ontology, this simplistic view of the world is supposed to be for everybody related to that problem. Executive to data engineer to analyst, they can all use it. And the way that they can use it is, in that database schema. Because you can then take what you generated and turn that into a database schema. In our case, we use graph databases integrated into a larger stack, but that database schema is then the single source of truth for all of those applications at that application layer. All right, so why would you do this? Again, you want to get everybody on the same page. You want to have transparency towards the goals you're trying to achieve. And you also want to kill all of the data silos, right? Remember yesterday, Malcolm Hawker was talking about data owners and how they're going away. This is a way to help them along. If the entire organization has said, this is what we're doing, and the executives and the data engineers, the data scientists, they'll have buy-in and say, yes, we're doing that. Okay, I need all of the advisor data. Data owner, please give it to me. The organization says that we're doing it. I need all of the finance sheet data. Why? Well, I have the entire organization said we're solving this problem. So you can get buy-in and then use that buy-in for some effect. And then serve out that data product. I'm a little biased towards knowledge graphs, but you can serve out whatever that data product is to those multiple user categories. And I'll show you an example of how you can do that with our software. At ServiceGroup is the semantic knowledge graph, but you don't have to do it that way. You can do it with other software too. Okay, so let's see if I get this. No, it looks like I gotta drag it. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to be looking back. So this is what the data engineers and the data scientists want. They want, Python notebook. This is where they're going to live, right? Not. But then, you'll have other people, like analysts, who want to have dashboards. And apologies, apparently I signed in a little while ago. They're going to want to see visualizations, Sankey and maps and charts and interconnected dots. They're going to want that. But yeah, but other people are going to want other things, right? Like we'll have, it's signed out, there we go. We'll have people who are going to want to interrogate the data with natural language. Like we did on the first day with Tim. And I'm sorry, it looks like it's zoomed in a little bit too much, so it's hard for me to see and type at the same time. And it'll generate a query that you can't see. Yeah, there we go. And then we'll run it. And all of this is just going to be a back end. And my point of showing you all this is like, this is this back end tool where you could put those ontologies, use that to create a graph schema and then connect your other applications to get everybody on the same page with whatever visualization software that they want to use, however they want to interact with it. Work on the API layer. Get them down with the actual problem. So then, okay, so you start making these graphs, utilizing these ontologies, which should be purpose-built to solve problems. They should be application-driven. You're going to need a governance structure. So then that application is associated with a domain. That domain is associated with some kind of generalized group. You're going to need a top-level ontology, some kind of governance layer to manage all of this. There's a lot of good standards out there. ISO 21838 is the one we use. But there's other top-level ontologies, though if you talk to Barry Smith, he poo-poos them all, except for his. But the point is, this governance layer is not just a conceptual governance layer. It also relates to your data and how you're managing your data. So you could have something as verbose as an ontology foundry, is what they call it, but that could be a meeting. Where you talk about the concepts related to your problem and the effects and the things you're trying to achieve, and you agree on them, and you have a simplistic view that then translates over to what you're doing on the data layer. All right, so you're going to sit around and argue about concepts. Wait, do you need lawyers to do this? There's like highly paid people in that what they do? There's cheaper people that can argue about concepts who've been doing it longer than lawyers. They're philosophers. Okay, and that's actually who ontology engineers are. They're really philosophers. Barry Smith, the guy who created basic formal ontology, he's a professor of philosophy. This is what these people do. So engage with them, interact with them. They have a lot of nuance and depth that they can bring to the problem set, but don't be bogged down by maybe a governance structure. Try to do something small, kind of like what Dan was saying, grow something good, apply some governance to it, bring it along. And just let your business goals drive the organizational data governance policy. People have to understand that what the data is doing is associated with the end goal of the organization. And this is a good conceptual way to do that. And wait, this sounds like I have to do OKRs. Yes, you have to have a strategy. You have to have objectives, key results. You have to have something that you're working towards, and then use that to drive the data. So this all sounds great. Jake, you live in this realm of, rainbows and unicorns, leprechauns and pots of gold. It's great. Why don't we just all adopt the ontologies tomorrow? Well, please do, but you can do it the wrong way, and we've seen it go wrong a lot. If you design it for just one user group, say I'm going to build all the ontologies for all the analysts, they're going to find out all the things, it'll be great. What about the decision makers? Are they involved? What about the engineers? The people that actually know the features of the data, are they involved? You can get too hyper-focused on one user group and you bring another one in and they don't agree. So just try to accommodate everybody in that process, because they can all understand the goals of the organization and the concepts related to those goals. It's a common language. Also, when you build an ontology that has a short half-life, short life, where it's just really focused on one data set, it's not going to be as useful. You can't use it again and again and again. So watch it when you're doing that. Also, when an ontology recreates the wheel, it's a bad thing. There's a lot of really good public work out there on ontologies, a lot of ontology resources. I know Defense Department has this agent project that we recently got access to, as part of the DIWG. A lot of decades worth of work by all these ontology engineers. We were ecstatic, because why do we want to do that? The people already put a lot of thought into it. And also, the most important though, when the ontology work is not focused on outcomes. You need to focus on outcomes, strategy, effects, the things you're going to achieve, and the concepts related to those, and then you'll have an ontology that drives the data and drives the knowledge value. It can help accelerate decision making, provide consistent valid entities, and entities, if another fancy word, but it's just that conceptualization of maybe that chair in your ontology. That chair is an entity in your ontology. And you can make that a compliance layer to enable those domain graphs to be combined and then interconnected. And really what we're talking about is decision making, providing context. That's what you need to enable people with. You got to reduce that cognitive load. The graphic that maybe some of you can see here is you have raw data, information in meaning, context and knowledge, and that leads to decision making. So an example that I use all the time when I talk about this is raw data would be like 3 backlit colors that are red, yellow, and green. Information and meaning is, okay, that's a traffic light at the south intersection and the light's red. But the context and the knowledge that you need to make a decision is that you're driving at that red light. So you better stop. And the more we can focus on that contextual layer, the more success we'll have with our organization, and integrating, value from our data work. Provides that ideal end state, enables that context. So really, that's all I had to say. Well under time. Unfortunately, I don't want to keep you guys from the food.